Small days is still on the mind. Small days is a good time. Neighbor have some little children. And when they sing little that's really admire them. Yes, they're singing. Ching, 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 ching. Playing a bop. See for mama. The 10 fat chickens.
Whoa.
And she for one. And she won't give me one. You see that girl named Dorothy. She fat like a butter. And she muggle like a chow. Oh, small days is still on me mind. Small days is a good time. Never had some little children. I'm gonna sing and that's really admire them. What they're singing? On your carpet, you must be like roses, all you need, bright and shining, you must be, and show me the one, love the best. When I marry, I give you the ring. First the girl, second the boys, Sunday, Monday, afternoon, we will spend our honeymoon. Oh, small days is still on my mind. Small days.
Hey fans, it's karaoke and oldies night this and every Thursday at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton. Dance to the magical songs of yesteryear by popular DJs and Camps Audio. Admission is free. Come out, let's make memories at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton North.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Over to You on this, the 6th day of April 2024. As you can see, my co-anchor, Miss Emma Sophia Benchcop. She is here with me and she's going to be here with me for the first few minutes of the show. Please, everyone, go right ahead and share the link and like the program. Let's go. Let's rock and roll this afternoon. Vashati Magnot, good afternoon, Vashati. Beatrice Selby, good afternoon. Golly God, good to see you, sir. Good to see you. Good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Sandra Hanover, yes, good afternoon and blessings to you too. And yes, you are a freedom fighter also. Miss Annette Cummins, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Denise Beard, welcome. Good afternoon. Welcome to Over to You. Please share the link, like the program, and let's rock and roll. So we have an hour, and I want you guys to be very busy in the comment section because we are going to be using the comment section this afternoon as we discuss a few things. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about GPL. We're going to talk a bit about these military support aircrafts that was ordered to the tune of 23 million US dollars. I want you guys to, brainstorm and, give me your opinions. Had you been sitting in the seat of government, based on all the issues that we're experiencing across Guyana, if you would have paid 23 million US dollars to buy second-hand support aircraft at this time? And we're going to discuss this even more. And I am going to give you my opinion as to why I think that was the wrong thing to do at this time. Okay, so please Continue to share, and let's have a good time this afternoon. Let's rock and roll. Airwill Don Cook, good afternoon. Artwork and Creations LLC, good afternoon. Whomever is behind that profile, a very good afternoon to you. Wenda Hudson, good afternoon. Lynette Fraser, good afternoon. Simone Jessamy, pleasant good afternoon. Welcome to Over to You. Lawrence J. James, welcome to Over to You, sir. Desiree Thomas, welcome. Winston, Kilkenny, welcome. Yolanda, welcome. Welcome. Corinne Day, welcome to Over to You. Wenda Hudson, welcome. Lorraine, welcome. Simone, I'll call Simone before. All right. So please share the link, like the program. Let's get started. Now, one of the reports that we've been getting from everyone, I hope Emma is doing good. Emma seems to be relaxed. Okay, so we can get started. Emma is good. All right. One of the things that people have been talking about across the country, especially over the last 3 weeks to a month, has been the blackout situation. And at Barrick Jagdio's press conference, as the party that is sitting now in government, though installed, I would have expected him as this quote-unquote leader, right? PPP supporters, please listen. This leader, because leaders usually have remedies and solutions, okay? Leaders usually have remedies and solutions to issues. Barrick Jagdio's solution to the blackout situation was to put the blame on the coalition. Now, what type of solution is that? What type of solution is that? You are the ones sitting in government today. You are the ones making the decisions today. The coalition is merely in opposition, and thanks to Mansour Nadir, everything that they put, everything that they tabled is being rejected. So therefore, they are deemed powerless. So Barrick Jagdio, it is your PPPC regime that is controlling everything. So now, what is your problem? You guys don't have a vision for GPL. You guys had the country under your thumbs for 23 years, and it was 23 years of blackouts. We had a 5-year period under the coalition, right? And listen, coalition supporters are quickly to tell me, Wayne, it's about 3.5 years. And I agree with them, because the other 1.5 years or so, they were basically there as a take care of government. So I cannot disagree with them. Now you guys are back again, but you're not just back. You are back at the helm in Guyana as the installed government, but it's not just Guyana. It is now oil-producing Guyana. So what should we be expecting? Not improvement? We should be expecting improvement. I was in Guyana a few times under the coalition, and I didn't experience blackout. I didn't. You guys now sit there, and people are getting blackouts for 8 hours, 16 hours, sometimes a complete day. How can this be? And we're talking about transformation. Is it convenient transformation we're talking about? Because if you're transforming a country, GPL should be a part of the process. People have been suffering for such a long time, with blackouts. Electrical equipment with the load shedding and the blackouts. You damage people's stuff, you spoil their stuff. You think they can go in and report and say how much their refrigerator or their microwave or maybe their electric stove costs, and you guys would go in and send in a technician or somebody to look at it and cover the expenses? No, you would not do that. The people who are going to be responsible for covering these expenses, they already are not being properly paid across the board. Both public servants and private sector workers, they're not being paid properly in Guyana. But you guys are causing them more expense by providing lethargic electric service to them. GWI, amongst other things. So my question to my listeners and viewers today, and you guys can put it in the chat. If you guys were sitting in government, would you at this point choose to spend 23 million US dollars on maybe 2 fourth-hand? I ain't gonna call it second-hand because they don't look second-hand. They look very, very old. They look like 1976 and 1968 support aircrafts. Would you spend that type of money to do that at this point? And here is my breakdown for that. I wouldn't. And let me tell you why. Buying these 2 aircrafts at this point does not change anything. You probably would have been better off taking 2 million of the 23 million and purchasing drones, high-tech drones. And the other 21 million, you could have taken it and push it into GPL to try to get things up and running properly so that you could provide proper electricity to the Guyanese people. Don't give them 2 fourth-hand planes and they have no electricity coming to see, to the extent the Venezuelans are actually trying to annex our country. We're not going to be able to see anything. We don't have any electricity. So why are you going out there and buying planes? It's better you give us better electricity. Guyana is in no position to defend itself against Venezuela. Last time I would have checked the statistics, there are 63,000 troops in Venezuela. Okay? And I don't think it includes the paramilitary. And that is massive also in Venezuela. There are so many military trained experts in Venezuela. On the other hand, when you look at Guyana, the Guyana Defense Force are mere 3,400 troops. Trinidad and Tobago has 10,000 troops. We have 3,400 and 670 in the reserves. All right? So basically 4,070. If we want to aggregate everything. The PPPC, in their 23 years that they were in power, did absolutely nothing to try to develop and build out a proper defense force for Guyana. We know that we have consistently had issues with Venezuela, and it would have made sense to try to build out a proper defense force, to try to at least push to get to maybe 10,000. But how can you? The Guyana Defense Force, the pay is not attractive. Okay? And in its own right, it's politically corrupt also. So that does not encourage the young Guyanese to want to go out and join the Guyana Defense Force. There is no benefits with joining the Guyana Defense Force. Is there a bonus of getting probably a house lot? A signing bonus to joining the Guyana Defense Force, you're going to be given a house lot within your first year of service? There's no such benefit. Government is not that smart, right? There's no way that corrupt crooks can ever come across or ever be able to think, smart. Because their goal is not to develop anything. Their goal is to develop their wealth, in essence, their pockets, and to see the Guyanese people suffer. Let me just dive in a little bit and check your guys and check your comments. Donna Massey, dark days for Guyana. They are keeping people in the dark. Mansour needs to go. Yes, Fashati, I believe that for sure. Mansour Nadir is the worst speaker of the House. And I could understand why he's the worst speaker of the House, because I think the other speakers of the National Assembly would have been very, very educated men. So Mansour Nadir was a real step down, a real step back. And that's the thing with the PPPC. It's just questionable characters after questionable characters. By the way, that young lady, I'm not going to call her a doctor anymore. She doesn't deserve to be called doctor. Asha Kissoon, you need to relinquish that seat. You're a disgrace. You're a disgrace to the party you're representing. You're a disgrace to your constituency. Your political career is over. The only way that your political career can continue is under the PPPC, where questionable characters is always allowed. Remember again, Asha Kissoon, you are a disgrace. Okay? My name is Wayne V. Caesar. You can reach out to me via Facebook if you like. A Will Don Cook is saying, if Papa Jagabat walk and stomp his toe, it's the coalition fault. Yes, everything is the coalition fault. Jagdeo is feeling the heat from the constant blackout. Jagdeo took his supporters for granted. That's a very, very good point, Annette Cummins. That's a very, very good point. And I want to elaborate on that point. All Guyanese are needed. All Guyanese are needed. Before your Afro-Indian and all these different ethnic groups, the 6 ethnic groups that we want to break down and all these things, you're a human being, you're a Guyanese, and then we could start breaking into all the other things. I'm asking people to acknowledge themselves first as human beings and as Guyanese. Vote to issues. Vote to what's affecting your country. This installed regime is mismanaging the assets of this country. They are mismanaging the oil revenue. They are mismanaging gold and diamond and everything across the board. We are underachieving as an oil producing nation. As an oil producing nation with less than 1 million people, we are underachieving horribly. Okay? Because of total mismanagement by the PPPC. They have been a failure to the Guyanese people. They have been a complete failure to the Guyanese people. Their campaign in 2020 was a deceitful campaign. Their promises was all deceitful. I don't know how many of you got the opportunity, okay? I don't know how many of you got the opportunity to look at the Village Voice, but I encourage you guys to read the Village Voice, and the Village Voice is also on Facebook. There was an article in the Village Voice today. There is an article in the Village Voice today, and it's from Tony Vera, right? Tony Vera was a PPPC candidate at the 2020 election. Just give you a short reading of what he said. He said, what's going on in Guyana in the past few days that I have seen and heard complaints and accusations from many important sections of our society. And the first person that he would have pointed out was Mr. Paul Slow. He looked at Mr. Slow and Mr. Clinton Conway on their program that is typically on Facebook and YouTube. And he looked at the allegations. They were making serious allegations against the current situation in our police force. He was talking about the promotion of officers who were not up for promotion. He was talking about the display of, racism and marginalization by this installed PPPC regime. And the fact that all the bad cops were trying to eliminate basically the good cops. He also took some time to commend Mr. Paul Slow on a job excellent, on a job well done. And he said he would have said in his piece that he got a chance to do that a few years ago with Mr. Slow. And I do log into Mr. Slow's show from time to time. And at some point, I will invite him to come on here with us because he has some very, very, very interesting things to share. Rules, regulations, all the different things of the Guyana Police Force. He's a very, very knowledgeable individual of police work. And I'm going to call his name again because there is something that I'm going to speak about that is going to require me to invoke the name of Mr. Paul Slow again. But I agree with Mr. Vera on this. He also spoke, guys, of Gaisuko and the nepotism of the PPPC in appointing the wrong people at Gaisuko. He says any more money that is poured into Gaisuko, it would be like pouring water on duck back. Now, this is an individual that was tied to Gaisuko and probably still is tied to Gaisuko. And to hear this coming from his mouth, he also would have touched on the fact that they are underachieving in 2024. They are underachieving. He also touched on the fact that the teachers were ill-treated by the PPPC government. And I'm happy that he touched on that point. Because whenever Gaisuko go on strike, the install regime work runs quickly and make sure that those sugar workers are taken care of. But look what they would have done to the teachers. Just take a good look at what this install regime would have done to our teachers. The only thing I can think that would cause the PPPC to take such action against the teachers by not giving them a new deal and making that deal retroactive. Come on, we are oil producing nation now. We can take care of our teachers. Take care of them and get it over with. Just go ahead across the board and take care of all the public servants. There's a lot of oil in the ground. There's a lot of revenue coming Guyana's way. The only thing that can stop that is if the oil market decides to pivot. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. But instead, they choose not to take care of the teachers. And in essence, I think that they would have signed their doom come 2025. Let me check you guys' comments to see what we have here. Miss Brenda Casey, Jack Dion, his minions couldn't care. Well, you know what? And I agree with Miss Casey. But it was good to see that Tony Vera, he came and he spoke out. Might be a little bit too late, but I'm not going to take anybody and just throw them under the bus. He came out and he's standing up against what he deems to be wrong. He is showing somewhat that even if in the first 3.5 years he would have lost his conscience, maybe he has regained it. Time will tell. That's a man, and this is Yonet Elias. Yonet, a pleasant good evening to you. That's a man the PPPC put through hell. They ran him out of his business, and bad apps, he joined them like Freddie. Bad apps, you're right, Yonet Elias. Bad apps, I hear that for a long time. He joined them just like Freddie. Well, sometimes, Miss Elias, you have to live and learn. And let's hope that this was a lesson to Mr. Tony Vera. And next time, the decision that he makes is a more prudent decision. One in which he really examines, the two parties and what they're about. Because I think it's easy to examine the two parties and see what they're about. There's one that's a dictatorship, and then there's one that is more so a democracy. So, I mean, the choices are easy. The choices are easy. And the writing is going to really be on the wall, right? Because the PPPC is due for Congress next month. Guys, we're in April. The PPPC is supposed to be having a Congress in May. I am anxiously awaiting that Congress. Anxiously. Chickens come home. Yes. Emla Grant, you were correct. I cannot argue with you. The chickens come home to roast. Why didn't he talk before? Yes. I cannot disagree with you. Because the longer you take to talk, remember this, Guyanese are punishing all the time. Guyanese are punishing all the time. You might be there sitting as a government official having your 4, 5, 6 square meals per day. And there are people who are struggling to have one good one. Right? And that's why, in my opinion, I always ask for these officials to really sit down and think deeply before they act. Because a lot of times, man, in both the opposition and in the sitting install regime, people make decisions, but they never think about the people of Guyana, especially the poor ones. Nobody thinks of them. Nobody ever think about them. And we need to change that. We need to change that. All right, guys. I'm going to open up my lines now. 347-228-7115. 347-228-7115. And this is Janet Elias. She's one of the people who created this whole calling thing on Over to You. The viewers and listeners do play a part in this show. This is a show for the people, by the people. There's something else that I wanted to touch on also. Anil Nandalal. You see this whole situation where Guyana is asking Exxon to make sure that we have full coverage to the extent there's an oil spill in Guyana. We are able to have that cleanup done, and it is covered and insured by Exxon. It is covered by Exxon and it is insured. Now, what they are recommending, and this is right because this is how it works. Exxon is the parent company. So the parent company sits up here, right? It's up here. You can have lower tiers. You can have what you may want to call an employee co, a lower tier right below there. That's another entity. But remember, that entity is not a revenue driving entity. That entity does not bring in revenue. The money that goes into that entity comes from the parent, flows down to that entity. I would have just said an employee co. The reason I said an employee co is because that entity would be used for paying employees. That's its sole purpose. Now, we are asking for another entity on this side. So you have the top tier, you have the employee co, and then you have this other entity that's going to be on this side. This entity is going to be an insurance driver, meaning that you're going to have certain monies allocated and it's in that entity. Right? It sits there, right, to cover to the extent there's an oil spill. Now, there's a couple of things with that. When ExxonMobil have a couple million US sitting there, right, to cover Guyana to the extent there's an oil spill, their money is sitting there. What does that do? That mitigates errors, meaning that they will be much more careful, right? They'll be much more careful with their due diligence and making sure that the oil is flowing properly, making sure they check the oil lines and everything, right? Because they know that if there's a spill, the money gone. The money is gone, right? But if their practices are safe and they're doing everything diligently, then the money sits right there. It is always there. Anil Nandalal went to the CCJ trying to say that Exxon shouldn't have to do that. When around the world, that's the practice. This is normal practice around the world. Now, I beg to ask the question, why should Guyana be exempt? Is it because Guyanese are not worth being protected? Francine Cruz, 347-228-7115. 347-228-7115. Three 47228-7115. I'm waiting. I'm right here. Thank you, Lemon. By the way, I must say many thanks to Lemon. He's always here every Saturday for my show. Sometimes I see that he misses straight up. That means that I'm on a roll and have Lemon's attention. I'm gonna leave him to battle out with Mr. Benchcop on straight up. Maybe I'm paying Lemon more than Mark is. We'll see. Ms. Brenda Casey, the PPPC, the installed PPPC needs to upgrade electricity by using solar panels. Well, we touched on that last night. Solar panels and generators. Guyanese should be allowed to bring these things into the country duty-free. Duty-free. Come on, guys. Install regime. Step up. Irfan Ali, make an announcement, make a pronouncement that it is okay for Guyanese to bring in solar panels and generators duty-free. Your house is not in darkness. You're not unable to store frozen food. The Guyanese people are unable to do so. Now picture somebody who have a little ice cream business. You know, the normal mom and pop, road corner ice cream business. What's happening to that person now? Business is unpredictable, right? Business is unpredictable. Okay, Janice Booker has jumped out the box here. She said Mark doesn't pay Lemon a proper living wage. Boy, that's trouble. Miss Booker, I make sure that I take care of Lemon, and he is due for a bonus at Christmas time. Let me just make that clear. Yeah, we need proper management of our oil. Let's remember this, and Mr. Glenal would have spoken on this also. As the wells start to open up and you start to do more drilling, and you have more oil ships out in the ocean, okay? If I have one oil ship, there is some risk there. If I have 7 oil ships or 15 oil ships, there is tremendous risk. Tremendous risk. Hence the reason why Exxon needs to put up or shut up. And I think they're willing to put up. I think it's the Guyana government, the install regime that is trying to block that. Anil, come on, you guys are ripping Guyanese enough. Let the insurance be in place for the Guyanese people. You guys can always pick up yourself and fly out to whichever country you want to fly out to. Right? You guys can always do that. But the Guyanese people don't have that option. You see, when Venezuela was attempting to annex Essequibo, you see what Jack Dion Ali did? Those guys was on a plane, on a private plane to Panama to make the connection to Dubai. Private plane. You think that money came from their pockets? That's your money. That's the taxpayers' money. Guyanese, we have to wake up. We have to wake up. And when I say Guyanese, I'm not talking about no one ethnic group. Listen, I don't talk about one ethnic group. Guyana is going nowhere with no one ethnic group. There are 6 ethnic groups in Guyana. I respect all 6 of them. All 6 of them have their history. And their history should be respected. All 6 across the board. Nobody should be seeking to dismiss anyone else's history. Yes, 6 ethnic groups is a lot, but there are countries that have more. Let's don't complicate things here. Good evening, Ms. Shoy Gibson. Let's not complicate things here. Racism in Guyana is government driven, is party driven. We're in the 21st century. Stop the ignorance. Stop the garbage. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. I believe that the word racism is there just to put people against each other. Okay? I grew up in Pleasance, man. And me and my friends, man, we used to catch up with the Indian guys from Better Hope for cricket, man. Imagine them guys used to come over in Pleasance and come to our houses to pick us up, yo. And we gone to either Better Hope Community Center ground. If there's people already playing there, we gone to Pleasance Community Center ground. If there are people there, we had an open yard in Prince William Street where we played our cricket. So I didn't grow up knowing anything about any race and all that nonsense. So I'm not playing that game. And I encourage you guys to not play it either. It's not worth it. A human being is a human being. Let's all treat each other with dignity and respect. Don't worry, this install regime shutting down our nursing school in Linden and then bringing nurses from Bangladesh. When you have the nursing school up in Linden, up and running, and Guyanese are going through and getting the necessary trainings and becoming nurses, and you see that we still have a shortage of nurses, oh, well, sure, go to Bangladesh, but make sure that you kind of mix it. We got 6 ethnic groups. Bring 60 from Bangladesh, 60 from China, 60 from Haiti, wherever. Let it be a mixed pot. Guyana is a melting pot. Let it continue to be that. Let it continue to be that. Don't try to change the ethnic dynamic of the country. And that is exactly what the PPPC is doing. They want to establish ethnic superiority. And while doing so, they are committing economic genocide and financial terrorism against the people of Guyana. '25 election is the mother of them all. My opinion. I am declaring the 2025 elections the mother of them all. And I think the PPPC supporters more so is going to come into question in here. How much have they learned? How much more do they want to see? For the PNCR, APNU plus AFC, open up the doors, welcoming those voters that are on the fence. They are all Guyanese. Okay? They all deserve the right to be a part of a party. Make your party diverse. Okay? From an ethnic position, make your party diverse. I have a call. A pleasant good afternoon and welcome to Over to You. Hello, can you hear me? Good afternoon,
Mr. Caesar and listeners.
Good afternoon.
Mike, are you hearing me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, one of my concerns is about Exxon. I think they're ripping the Guyanese nation off, and that is because of the sitting government and their, I would say, their delinquent behavior towards the Guyanese people. Now, you just mentioned about the tiers of governance and all that stuff. The government is not interested in any such thing. Now, where the flaring is concerned, that's my concern, because I think they're doing more flaring than they're supposed to, and that is having an effect on our global warming issues.
It's having an effect. It's having an effect on the ecosystem. Hence, we're seeing all these long periods of dry weather you're seeing.
Exactly. Now, the thing is, I am wondering what corrective measures have been taken by the sitting government to assist along those lines. Is there a program for if it gets worse? I mean, sending the soldiers in to assist with the wildfires, that is not enough. We seem to have this tendency of not being proactive, and that's a problem for me.
Well,
I haven't heard anything from the EPA neither. What is their role? Are they supposed to be saying something about these things? I'm not hearing anything from the EPA where that is concerned.
I think the EPA was. I think the EPA was given. I think the EPA was given a warning by Justice Kesun on their responses to Exxon and some of these same issues. I think they were given a stern warning by Justice Kesun.
Well, being given a stern warning, but I may be out of it, but I haven't seen anything after that warning, which means that they're probably compromised. And that is not good for the citizens of Guyana. The other thing is about the purchase of those things.
Before you go to the purchasing of those airplanes, let's go back to the EPA, right?
Yes.
Once the PPP would have got there and everything, you see what they did with the whole oil industry. They choose to remove Dr. Vincent Adams from there.
Quite true.
And Dr. Mark Bino. Had those two gentlemen still been sitting there, this would not have been happening. I can promise you that. The PPP doesn't want Dr. Vincent Adams nowhere close to the oil sector.
Well, you see,
because
that's the thing.
Right. Go ahead.
This level of mediocrity gets to me. Why would you replace persons who show professionalism with that sort of level of mediocrity? I don't get it, but then it's the PPP we're talking about.
And it's called nepotism at its best.
Okay, nepotism. But that's what it is, and that's how I see that. Now, the purchase of those things, because I don't know what that is. For me, I am still questioning the prices that they claim were paid for those things. Now, Guyana is blessed at the moment, and we have monies that could, allow us to buy proper things. Why is it that we continue to buy second-hand stuff or third-hand or fourth-hand stuff? Look at that boat that they purchased. Look at the generators, the issue with the generators. I mean, come on, can't we do better than that? Can't the sitting government do better than that? They continue to insult the intelligence of Guyanese people with their utterances, and then their actions doesn't align with their speeches. They make all these big pronouncements, and then they go and do something different. Like you were saying about the amount of persons and our soldiers and stuff like that. I am of the opinion that they do not respect our servicemen and women.
Correct. I agree with you 100% on that.
They don't. Because it took a threat by Venezuela for the president, and I put that in inverted commas, for the president to approach soldiers to tell them about house lots. Well, you mean you're going to do that all the time? And I haven't heard any follow-up on that either. So is it still going to happen or what? There are no incentives, and given the current climate in Guyana, nobody wants to join the army.
No.
Nobody wants to join the
Nor the police. Correct.
Yes,
Correct is right.
Nobody wants to join those two places because, again, they underestimate the intelligence of the Guyanese citizens. And so the citizens are seeing what is happening. They might not go out and protest, but at the same time, I see it as a form of protest because they're not joining either of the two organizations.
Right. All right. Caller, if you could start wrapping up.
That's disrespect. The Guyana police force is supposed to serve and protect the citizens of Guyana, and that is not what is being showcased at the moment.
I'm not execute one's neighbor's child.
Yes.
Not execute one's neighbor's child. Yes, the Guyana police force, and there are some very, very good officers in the Guyana police force, but right now, their hands are tied and their lips have to remain sealed because what? They're dealing with a dictatorship, a modern day dictatorship installed government right now.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, caller. We have someone else trying to get in, but thank you so much. You made some excellent and valid points. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening. That was some excellent points by that caller. I just saw a comment from my brother. And by the way, good evening, Miss Brenda Brettway, Miss Cheryl Pancham, Althea Galloway, Melissa Junior, Shondell Griffith, good evening. Arlene Rubin Benjamin. I think Arlene was talking the other day. Wayne, don't worry about the little shaking that you get there the other day in New York. You need to be living in California, then you're gonna get some real shakes. Well, Arlene, you know what? I feel like I felt like if I had eye torn yesterday, man. So I don't want to go nowhere close to California. I saw a comment from my brother, Mr. Gavin Caesar. The PPPC will lose the 2025 elections. Please. Technically, yes, they should. But who is in control of GCOM? Who rigged the 2020 election? That's just 2 points I'm going to throw back at you there, Mr. Caesar. The opposition needs to get into GCOM and needs to understand what's happening, whether we are having biometrics, whether we are doing a new list, and all these kind of things, because you see who's pronouncing on behalf of GCOM right now, Mr. Barajagdio. Okay? Mr. Barajagdio is the one pronouncing on behalf of GCOM. Oh, Barajagdio, you just got some respect from me there. I call you Mr. Barajagdio. You're lucky. You're lucky, man. I'm not pleased. I'm not pleased. 23 years. Look what you've done to the Guyanese people. 3+ years. The same thing. When do you plan to stop? And you know what? If somebody's been doing this for so long, they're not going to stop. It's upon the Guyanese people. I see that we've gotten to 6 o'clock, 2 minutes to 6. So I'm gonna start preparing to wrap up. As we get closer to elections, we'll have a few longer shows. I can guarantee you guys that. Yeah, as I was saying, Barajagdio is not gonna stop. The onus is upon the people of Guyana. Okay, people, all of you, all 6 ethnic groups, all of you, examine yourselves. Examine the PPPC government. Okay? It's going to be what? 23 plus 5, 28? You guys tell me what would have happened in those 28 years. Right? The PPPC and the world is talking about transformation and modernization. Okay, transformation. There's a few buildings going up. There's a couple of highways that are done. They're not well done either. The big trucks are passing. They're breaking up the roads. Where's the modernization of the Georgetown public hospitals, or not even Georgetown public hospitals in general in Guyana? Where's the modernization of Guyana Power and Light? Where's the transformation and modernization of GWI? Where is the transformation and modernization of our education system? The good brother, the honorable attorney at law, Mr. Nigel Hughes, would have said on the show that I was on with him maybe a few months ago, that there's no grade 1s coming out at CSEC. There's no grade 1s coming out of our indigenous communities. The indigenous people are the first people of Guyana. Next year, the PPPC would have been sitting for 28 years in government with a 5-year split for a coalition government. I say this to the PPPC. This is for you. You've been there for 28 years. It's going to be next year. Aren't you guys not ashamed of yourself? Don't you guys find it to be disgraceful that we cannot get grade 1s at the CSEC examinations from our indigenous people? They are more than capable, but they're born into failure because they're in the interland and they're not receiving the support in the school system like the coastal areas are receiving. The school system needs a complete redo, not with Priya Manichan at the helm, she's horrible. She's a failure. Prayer manager, you're a failure to the Guyanese people. You would have failed those 20 children in Madia. You would have failed so many other children. You guys, as the PPPC as a whole, would have damaged so many careers. So many careers would have failed because of your failure to the Guyanese people. And moving forward, we need to have a government that is there representing all the people, representing good governance. That is what the Guyanese people are looking for, good governance. And Guyanese, I close by saying this to you. If you want good governance, you got to set your standards real high. And when I say set your standards real high, we have to start really thinking on a professional level. And there's one other point I want to make before I close. All right. I noticed in the opposition that Mr. Roysdale Ford is running for leader of the opposition. My brothers and sisters, I caution you. The PNCR is supposed to be a party that is democratic in nature. And in a democracy, anyone once qualified is allowed to run for leadership. May the best man win. Guys, from the Ford side, do not be critical of Aubrey Norton. Guys, from the Norton side, do not be critical of Roysdale Ford. Remember, this is an internal race. This is an internal race. Whomever wins, let's just put it this way, Mr. Norton wins, and he says, okay, Mr. Ford is going to be the Attorney General. You don't want your Attorney General going in there all scarred up and beaten up because you guys would have beat him up during an internal, election. All right, so let's exercise good faith, let's be confident in the system, and let's understand that we all have an opinion and a right to choose. That's democracy, right? We don't want to question anybody, for choosing to be with Mr. Norton, or question anybody from choosing to be with Mr. Ford. Let democracy play out. And another thing I don't like the Harmonites and the Granger Knights and the Dis Knights and the Norton Knights and all. That's nonsense. That is nonsense. Okay, the party needs to get rid of the nonsense. There's no time for that. You're part of the PNCR or whatever. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much, so much for joining this evening. It was a pleasure spending time with you guys. I saw that I got a few calls after the bell had rung at 6:05. Lemon probably want to go home to his wife and his 7 kids. Okay, so that'll be it for today. The phones usually open up around 5:30. So as soon as 5:30 come, guys, once I'm having call-ins, please start calling in immediately. Don't wait, until it's late to call in. I hope to see all of you guys on Straight Up. I should be on at least once to twice a week on Straight Up. So I'll see you guys then. I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the remainder of your weekend. You have to go out and you're going to be in the highways and the byways. Please drive carefully. Don't just drive for yourself. Drive for the other motorists on the road also, and the pedestrians. Be careful. A lot of pedestrians, they be in their cell phone and just walking out into the street. People, try to stay off your cell phones, okay? If you're in the street walking. Good night, everybody. And
my name is Jasniti Kaldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cop, and what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by 1 vote, they're losing it by that.
But Jesus Christ, if cost of living double, I don't know what happened. A pound of sugar is $300 already. Flour, everything gone up. Everything just raising. You gotta get about $40,000 for buy good ration. You gotta get 3 man now. A weekend man, a monthly man, and a fortnight man.